Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Golden Goddess Affirmations live podcast recording. I am Trixie Ann, aka the Thoughtful Beast, and I'm here with my very good friend Lillian. Lillian, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. And before we
Yeah.
get started, can you share with us a little bit about yourself, your pink-haired self?
Oh gosh. I'm Lillian. I'm a creative. I moved from Dallas to San Diego only like a year and a half ago or so. And let's see. By day, I'm a product designer, and and then the rest of my time is really focusing on a creative lifestyle and really like juicing life.
Juicing life. I like it. Let's squeeze the juice out of life. Which goes with your theme.
It does, doesn't it?
Sometimes authentic living calls for rebellion. Mwahahaha.
Insert evil laugh here.
Insert evil laugh here. All right, so let's just get down to it. Could you please read for the people back home who can see this video, and if not, they'll hear you, what
Yes.
affirmation card you chose?
Okay, my affirmation card that I chose out of Trixie's deck is I do not need to find happiness. I can create happiness all on my own.
It's a favorite. So why did you choose this card, Lillian?
I chose that card because I really identified with it because there's like so many instances that I feel in my own lived experience that I feel like women of color will definitely encounter, and I feel like as, as an Asian American, like we have to face a lot of these kinds of instances, and specifically like things that are um, the American dream or the formula of like this is how your life should be from a
Yeah.
lot of different contexts. I feel like there's a lot of questions that everyone really should ask of themselves rather than just like blindly following the plan set forth for them by other people or society
Yeah.
or whatever. And so that's why I say sometimes it requires rebellion.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just talking about this concept or something related to this concept with my friend Sheil, who I literally just told you about, who's like
Oh
living
yeah.
in this space right now. Not as a ghost. He's staying here. I realized I was like living in this space.
Just here.
My office is also our spare bedroom, so that's what's happening. For all of you at home who's like, what is she doing and why? Um, so he was talking about how, like when you're a kid, when you're young, all the way like through college, life is kind of like set up for you. There's
Right,
stuff for
right.
you to do and there's stuff for you to look forward to. Like,
Mm,
when you're in college and stuff, not everyone, but a lot of people do get like living. You get a living space, you have clubs and stuff. You have your work set for you, which is your schooling. And then you have your other job to help you pay for your schooling. And things are just there, right? They're there for
mm,
you. And then once college is over, a lot of people are like, "Oh, what the hell? What am I supposed to freaking do next?"
right,
And that's
right.
where I feel
Suddenly you
like
have no structure.
exactly, suddenly you have no structure. And so what do people fall back onto? They fall back onto the same script society has fed us forever and ever, which I said was sad because, things like, and I'm not saying these things are bad because I'm engaged, but like there's marriage, there's having
Right,
children,
right.
and then you die, you know? And like those things, a lot of the things, your milestones and stuff, having a good career somewhere is mostly related to your relationship with someone else. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I thought it was sad because I'm like, what about you and you as a person? Like, what about, those goals there? which I think, again, I know is a new concept for a lot of people, right? Like getting in charge of your mental health is probably a real big freaking milestone for any living human, but
I
most
think
people
so.
don't see
Yeah.
that as an actual milestone. I see it as a milestone and I'm still going for it. I don't know if this
It's hard.
milestone will ever be reached exactly, but I know I'm like, I'm a going. Uh, yeah.
I mean, oh man. Yeah, the whole like go to college, meet somebody nice, get married, have a career or buy a house with a white picket fence, have 2.5 children and a dog. Like that whole like expectation that society has or American society has around women um is really antiquated for one and really doesn't meet modern society. And then it's further complicated if you come from another cultural background that has another set of ideals placed upon
Mhm.
women, like what a woman's place in the workplace or in the home. All of that has some structure that has been provided. But yeah, there is no nowhere in there is like, well, but who are you and what do you need to be happy? That that structure does not give us that agency really to ask that question if you follow into those boxes, if we want to just like call those kinds of boxes that have been made for us.
Mhm.
And like I feel like for me personally, I feel like there's okay, so there's like the American dream, like life for a female, and then being Chinese, there's like there's traditional cultural values and stuff, and like girls should be reserved and soft spoken and the great mothers. Now that's what you're supposed to be, and just pat your head like, oh, aren't you so nice and docile and
Okay, so Lily, let's get into some story time here.
okay,
I said this in the beginning. Lily's hair is pink. If you can't
yeah.
see this because you're just listening to the podcast, it's pink. It's very pink. So that can be seen as an act of rebellion. And I want to ask you, just tell us a story about rebellion because like the wording of your theme was very specific. So I was like,
Yeah.
what stories
Oh my gosh,
does Lillian want to share?
I could, okay, so
Okay, girl,
the
I'll help you start out.
first
Oh, you want to go?
what
Okay, go.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah, okay, okay.
Got
So the
this.
first act of rebellion that I had in my early life, my first chapter, like adult-ish chapter, I guess you could say, was an act of rebellion. But then I will tell you why or how it went wrong.
All right.
Okay, um, so growing up, I feel like I had like been instilled upon me by American society, like what the idea of like what a good family life looks like, what a good
Mhm.
marriage looks like, and stuff. And so I met someone in college, and then it was like, oh, okay, cool. I took that box off. Yeah, yes, met someone in college. uh, and he had come from a Roman Catholic, really large Irish, Scottish family. And they had that like very American kind of family life. Like everyone is very supportive of each other. They're in each other's business. They care. They do a lot of family stuff, and there's outwards displays of affection, that kind of thing. um,
Yes.
yes, and so like my first act of rebellion kind of was like, I have a white boyfriend.
All right. All
Against my
right. Yeah.
parents. So, and I did marry him, and I really like started to have a very like white adjacent life, like as much as I could be, because clearly not white. And and so with that marriage, like I feel like I was really trying to be that person and to fit into
Mm.
that context as best I could. And you know, and it's assimilation. It's like, you know, the ultimate
Yeah.
form of assimilation. And and then like, you know, one day I it wasn't really like one day I woke up and I was like, "Oh my god, this is all wrong." Um, but, but, but like it was an eventual process.
This was bad.
This was bad. It's a trap. Uh, no, no. And I had realized that this was not one. This was not the marriage for me, and two, this was not a life that like that I am really choosing. It's a life I assimilated to, but it's not a life that I chose that would bring me happiness. It wasn't an authentic kind of life at all because I was like ignoring the fact that I was Chinese and or you know Taiwanese American and you know just really like totally whitewashing.
And that is very interesting because you said, you know, this was your first act of rebellion was dating a white dude, but then it literally made you what like it's so interesting and I'm laughing because I can kind of relate, not necessarily in that way, even though my fiance is white, but more so when I think about a lot of the time when I was younger, I associated being Filipino, being Asian with certain things.
Mm,
With like my immigrant parents, with strict
mhm.
rules, needing to have good grades all the time, making sure that
Right,
I'm like
right.
quiet and respectful, acting a certain way, being a certain way. There were obviously good things too, like Filipino food, like family, but also then the other side of family, you know. And
Right.
so I think I tried to, at some point in my life, just shun being Filipino. Also because
Mhm.
I didn't feel similar enough. I felt like an outcast a little bit with like my Filipino cousins because I was like different. And so I was
Mhm.
like, I'm different. I guess I'm not Filipino because I didn't
Right,
dress like they did.
right.
So you know, it caused a rejection of that, and I just tried to
Mhm.
embrace, like, being American, and I didn't realize for a long time that, yeah, like, because I didn't see it for me, it wasn't an act of rebellion, it was a response to feeling rejection,
Mm, mhm.
which, maybe you could call it an act of rebellion because when you're rejected, then you wanna rebel. That's fine, you can see it that way too. But, you know, it really like you said, though, I was just creating my own erasure.
Right. I know, isn't that mind-boggling that we chose that?
Yes!
You know? That was our decision, like, we were like, "I'm just gonna literally like whitewash ourselves
Yeah.
and erase our cultural background, which you know now now when my cultural background is important to me. Being in an Asian community is Asian American community is very important to me, and like yeah, it was just like I laugh at myself because this was my journey, and I do see this in a lot of other Asian Americans because you know our parents sacrificed so much for you know to bring us here or to raise us up here for better opportunities, and they want us to assimilate because assimilation would you know somehow equal success, and you know a better life, and so they do want us to assimilate. Like whenever I talk to my parents even today, I say, well, you know, I'm Taiwanese, and they're like, no, you're American.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I'm like, oh wait, okay, but Americans look at us and be like, no, you're you're
You're
Taiwanese American.
yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
That is a
it's
thing.
we're stuck in like a middle limbo kind of weird space, um, that I feel like only recently, like Asian Americans are starting to carve out like who we are.
Yeah.
like what we stand for, and not shunning our cultural background, and not like whitewashing ourselves anymore. I feel like we're in a really exciting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, because that's, like, the best, like, act of rebellion, like,
Mm,
I'm gonna go against this motherfucking colonialism.
my
Like,
God.
I'm going
Right?
against it, which is honestly really hard, especially in our society because, like, our society you all know this if you know me, I'm a socialist. I'm looking, like, into the camera for this. I'm a socialist, so I do understand that I live in a capitalist society, but that's also not necessarily my jam, you
Right.
know? And that is an act, I guess, of rebellion for me. I don't know. It's for me, it's an act of, like, embracing the things that are actually important to me, which are things that I decided to whitewash away before, or because it had nothing to do with money, this isn't important, like my mental health. Um,
Oh my God, yeah.
my
Mhm.
relationship with family, which I feel like a lot of time people are like, "No, I make money for my family," and stuff like that, and I'm like, "No, I totally understand, like, that is totally what you're doing." A lot of
Mhm.
people do that, it's just I understand it's a love language, but try explaining that to, like, a small child, and
Right?
try, like you can't make other people feel things either, you know?
Yeah.
You may
Yeah.
show your love in the way you do, but you
Mm.
also are not in control of how people receive it, and
Mhm.
again, I will mention, like, children. You know, children, kids, people who don't understand these concepts, they don't even know, like, what love languages are. You know,
Right.
these concepts are still newer to us. This language is
Mm.
still newer to us. So, it's not like making money is not it is, it can be you loving your family, but also that's not when I think of love, that's not what I think of. I think of, like, embraces, I think of, like,
Right.
quality time together, like,
Right.
having memories and stuff like that, and
Mm.
again, that's not the only way to show love, but talk to a child.
I know,
They're not gonna
right? I
understand
know.
it. Maybe talk
Love
to an adult even, they're not
I
gonna get
right?
it, or it's
I
not enough.
feel I mean, that is, like, such an abstraction of a way of showing love, like, earning money for your family. Yes, I know that, like, that's just, what we have to do, but it takes you away from your family, so that doesn't feel like love because 'cause you're not
Mhm.
involved. You're
Yes,
just not there.
this love is not necessarily direct. It's not direct. It's not necessarily felt.
Right? I know, it's, yeah, ugh, I do hate that we're slaves to capitalism, and that we have to make money to live, because there's, like, so many more important things in life than, pulling overtime.
Yes, yes, you know? Yeah, yes, and so, like, think to me, and I know it's the same to you because you were also the person who was like, "Trixie, have you read Rest is Resilience?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah, that's that."
resistance, resistance.
Sorry. Yes, rest
Mm,
is resistance, and it's
mm,
true. Rest is resistance. Thinking about your mental health is resistance against the
mhm,
system that's trying to make you just be like, worker drone slave, which is so weird. As I say that, I'm
right.
like, dude, we're like the 90s conspiracy people, like, you know what I mean? Like that stereotypical 90s conspiracy people, like, we're against the man and blah blah blah. But I'm like, no, yeah, we are. And where's everyone else? I thought this was like a popular thing in the 90s. Because work and money,
Man,
it has to be important right now, like,
yeah,
because it is right now in our society, and that's fine, but, um, I don't know. I think it's important to, like, embrace other things so there's some sort of resistance against that, having some
right,
sort of
right.
rebellion, because being yourself it sounds dumb, but that's also, like, a lot of movies and stuff like that. Being yourself is rebellion.
It honestly is. Um, oh gosh, I had 2 things to say about okay, so 1, do highly recommend the book, Rest is Resistance, and get the audiobook version because the author, does narrate her own book, and
Ooh.
it's funner that way.
Okay.
Um, And and geez. Now I'm trying to think of like how was I going to talk about the number two thing and the number two thing? Okay, the number two thing is that when we're younger, we acknowledge that there are these societal pathways that are made for us. But what we
Mhm.
don't see, I think, when we're younger, because maybe we don't understand yet, or at least I mean, I didn't understand until recently, like, but that there are greater systems at work that create these pathways, like patriarchy, like
Yeah.
colonialism, like like racism. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of powerful structures that you don't necessarily see with your eyes that are creating these pathways that people are just kind of blindly walking on right now in their lives, and it really takes you knowing yourself to figure out how to make your own happiness. I don't have to find happiness or buy happiness from a thing, thanks Instagram. But,
Okay, that's fine.
um, but you have to know, you really have to know yourself. And I think a lot of people haven't allowed themselves um, the space to figure out who they are and what they need to be happy.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that's that for one, like if you haven't really understood the question of like, what makes you you, like take your job title out, take your role in your family out, take uh yeah, okay, those are two huge ones already. Like then who are you? If you can't define who that person is and what can make you happy, and that's not another person. BT dubs. All you
Yeah.
people that are subscribed to the the idea that like you're trying to find your other half. No, you're fucking whole. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we curse?
Yes. Yes, we
Oh,
can.
awesome. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're already whole. Okay. You're.
Yeah.
I also hate that idea is out there. Like you have to that you're only half a person. And you're looking for your other half. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, fuck that. No, you are totally a whole person yourself. Like
You
there's
are.
nothing missing in you. You find another person that's complementary, that'll support you, that will inspire you, that'll cheer for you, uh, but like you're you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, no, it's such an important thing to talk about, and I'm sure I've talked about it on this podcast before, but you'll hear it again. You'll hear it again now. That's really important because, going with what we said, right, with, like, the sense of control, like, those pathways, like, if
Mm,
you think that your completion is based upon someone else, you are giving
danger.
away more, yes, danger, more lack of control of your life. Is your life,
Mhm.
you really want your life and who you are dependent on other people. Like, that should be danger, right? And, like, that's why we don't like these societal constructs because our
Mhm.
lives, who we are, who we turn out to be, they're shaped by these things that aren't us. Like, yeah, it's
And they're
part
not
of
for
our,
us.
and they're
Like,
not for us. And
did
they're
did
made
we even
so
ask?
that,
We have
yeah,
to ask.
it's not like, things like racism and sexism and queer phobia and stuff. It's not like, "Hey, grass is green, and that's where we are, and we have to breathe oxygen to live." Like, that those are things we literally cannot control, and,
Mhm.
like, it was just this way. But with racism and sexism and all that crap, all that bigotry, it's like people are perpetuating this and making this to make money off of other people. Like, we're not supposed to be in these constructs and stuff like that.
Right,
Like,
right.
or we are because people want to make money off of that, but that isn't
Uh-huh.
necessarily like who you even are. And if you
Yeah.
never think about that, if you never think about like how you got to where you were, like that's really scary, honestly. I don't
It
know.
really is. I
Woo!
mean, like when we say that we chose that like whitewashing path, like that essentially we freaking colonized ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at it that way, you're like, "Fuck."
Yeah. Yeah. Like, no one is immune to this.
Mm,
Like, no one is immune
right,
to this shit. Like, it's again, it's built these systems are built in for us to assimilate and their
right,
support for
right.
assimilation.
Mhm,
Because a lot of times assimilation is also a safety thing. Assimilation and being, that stereotype you're supposed to play into is, um, it's expected. It's what
mhm.
actually unfortunately gets you ahead in life sometimes, in a way, not for your soul. But in a way, yeah. Ooh, okay, okay, okay. I'm actually
Scary.
gonna move on to questions because I
Okay,
feel
okay.
like people have asked questions that relate to what you're saying, and my mouse is
Yeah,
back here, so I'm
okay.
going to awkwardly scroll and then ask you these questions.
Okay.
Okay. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna break these up into 2 questions. 1,
Mm, mm.
how do you learn to like yourself?
Step 1, listen to BTS. I'm not kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. Um, loving yourself is a lifelong kind of journey because that's not one of the things that people want you to have.
Yup.
Because that gives that because you're reclaiming power when you love yourself. Uh, BT dubs. That is a chapter in the BTS and discography, but, and the whole like campaign and everything to love yourself. It's part of why I really adore them. Um, because they're a positive force in this dark fucking world. But but yeah, okay. So it, saying it is way easier than actually doing it, I think, and it's a step-by-step little journey that you have to take by yourself. Like, no one is going to teach you how to love yourself, or how to like yourself first, I guess, and then maybe love yourself.
Maybe a
But
therapist
it
can
has
help.
has to do a lot with acceptance, self-acceptance. Like, you have to like look at yourself and be accepting of the things that you can't change. Like, I'm short. I cannot change this. I mean, I can wear taller shoes, but I will never be like 5'10" or anything. That's like impossible. I'd have to stand on an apple box. But I think that it's a process that everyone has to take by themselves, and it's not anything that people can teach. I think because everyone is very different, and it starts with accepting who you are, and really like examining all the good things about yourself, all the maybe not so great things about yourself, and that's okay. Like, without judgment. Oh, sorry. Um, being able to take a good look at yourself and accepting who you are, because then from acceptance, then you can grow from that and really start shaping your life into your own choices, into with a lot more authority, and making more informed, authentic choices for your life.
Yes. I will say for me, I'm like listening to Lillian think and I'm like, what do I think? For me, I think I like to my first step. There you go. I'll phrase
Mm,
it like that. My first step, which also consists of a bunch of baby steps, is learn to not hate yourself.
mm,
Um,
mm.
because
Yeah,
and that's again, and I say that as a million baby steps because that does have a million baby steps. And I think maybe the
right.
first baby step to that is starting to look at like why do you hate yourself? Because then going back to again like the theme of these societal paths that are created for us. Do you hate yourself because of that? Do you like, is the hate that you have for yourself actually hate from other people, whether it be
Mm,
society or your family's like expectations of you or the projections they
right,
have put onto
right.
you? Like, is that why you hate yourself? Because I understand those are reasons to hate yourself as a human being. I did, but like, how valid is that actually? Like,
Yeah.
and that should that be a thing? I would never be, "Hey, like, hey, Lillian, you know what? You should hate yourself because you didn't turn out how your parents want." You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't say that to anyone else, and if you would,
Right, right.
girl, go to therapy. Um, that's mean. Um, but you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
look at why you hate yourself, because I
Yeah,
think
but
learning
those
to
thoughts
like
are
yourself is
not yours,
yeah, those are
basically.
not yours. Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't that such a mind-boggling thing? Because, like, you're just thinking all these things, but maybe not have realized that these are not your values.
Mhm.
These are not your thoughts. You don't actually believe this. And I mean, this takes a lot of introspection. You gotta really like you gotta figure it out slowly.
You do,
This is
you
a process,
do.
y'all.
It is a process, and it's a hard process. It's a hard process.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I feel like, yeah, so, like, really, in essence, like, choosing you, that is the biggest act of rebellion that you can do.
yeah.
It just for yourself, for to give yourself back the power that other people are already assuming from you.
I'm okay. So, here's a question to kinda go with that. I've
Okay.
jumped around to another screen. How do you find a balance between your authentic self and your daughter self? An example, how do you make everyone, like, especially parents, happy?
Okay, so I may not be the best daughter. Um
Or the perfect daughter, right?
Um, for me and my life experience with my family, okay, so I'm the oldest, and I'm the only girl.
Mm.
Um, and I have one younger brother. And so it's not like I ever felt any favoritism or anything growing up, but like now that I kind of like look back on it, like a lot of responsibility falls on the male child. And I still kind of feel like, oh, the girl child just gets married away. Like whatever. But not saying that my parents ever thought that or ever said that or anything, but I I think I was such a rebellious teenager that they had like already assumed that I was gonna do my own thing, like regardless of what anyone said. And I made a lot of decisions for what I thought was good for me at the time. And I'm just really lucky that they were very accepting of those decisions. Although they were overjoyed when I told them I'm getting a divorce. They were like, "Yes!"
Well, that's great.
It was
Great.
yes, yeah, yeah. That was like a nice coming together moment there. Yeah. So
Let's come together to celebrate this.
yeah, so they were very, very supportive of the divorce. And yeah, I mean, because they wanted me to marry a Taiwanese guy.
Oh.
And preferably some doctor lawyer, you know.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
And that didn't happen that way. So yeah. So in that sense, like I I'm not exactly sure if I am a good daughter. Um, that said, going forward, like my therapist dropped like the biggest like in my brain this week, or on this very topic too. Um, and it was because I was talking about um, like how yeah, see, I'm an experience designer, so like everything I think about is about designing an experience. So I'm thinking about like how to design the experience of my parents sunset years, and how I should be a good daughter in these sunset years. um
Oh, oh my god.
so she's like, well,
Mm,
what what does that mean to you? Like, what is
mhm.
being a good daughter? And I'm like, oh shit. I
Yeah,
don't know, not making them mad for one.
yeah. Um, yes, I I also don't think I would count as a stereotypically, like, good daughter. Um, and honestly, for me, the question is I don't balance these things because I was growing up, I was, like, too much growing up slash most of my life, I was too much on thinking about how do I become a good daughter, or, like, how
Mm,
am I a good daughter, and feeling a lot of guilt and stuff, but, you know, it I had to leave home. I couldn't really live and flourish there.
mm,
And that made me feel like a bad daughter forever. And
mm.
then I kind of just had to accept maybe there isn't a balance because sometimes there's no balance if there's no health. Like for me
Right,
specifically,
right.
I really don't think I could have gone on the way I was at home.
Mm.
So, there was no balance, there was, like, not sharp decision, that's dumb. It wasn't a sharp decision because it was me applying to schools for college. So, I made the decision to apply far, and I made the decision to go far.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm still dealing with how to from separate my identity from my family and what it means to do that. So I don't think about balance, but in one way you could think about that as is it because I have like I'm unbalanced the other way? Actually, me being a daughter and my daughter self is way stronger than my authentic self and who I am. And does it feel
Oh,
bad because I don't know how to do the other thing and the other thing being like, not taking away from daughter self feels like abandoning my family, but is it? I don't know. Those are things you
right.
have to, like, reflect on for yourself. For me,
Yeah,
like and
yeah.
I had the feeling of, "Yes, it is. I'm selfish," but I don't know, my life is better now. Like, that's all I can say. Like, I was
Oh,
really too much the other way. My life is way
mhm,
better now.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
does it come with consequences, and do I have a super close relationship with my family? No.
mm.
Um, but I'm okay with that, and that's why you have
Right.
to, like Lily said, you have to take the time to, like, think about this for yourself because you have to make those decisions, and they're never easy, and it's not like you make the decision and then you feel hella good about yourself right away. Some people do, I did not.
Mhm.
Mine took
Yeah.
me, like, over 5 years, maybe over 10.
Yeah. I
So
I mean, it takes that long
yeah.
ass time. Like, I don't know. I mean, when you say it like that, yeah, I don't ha I guess I don't have a balance either. Like, that's not even it's not even a question.
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
But,
dude.
I guess part of that comes from being, I feel like you and I were really, um, self-driven to become stronger women. Like, I feel like things within ourselves, like, made us have to be, uh, the people that we are now. Um, and that being a good daughter that is playing inside that box,
Yeah.
that other people made, and so choosing yourself is usually outside the box.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, like, what is another point of view? Because yes, me and Lily are not the best people for this question because 'cause we're both like, "Fuck it." It's fine, but, some people like their families and want to be close to their not like, we can like our families. We like our families maybe. But, like, some people wanna stay literally close and have close relationships with their family, so I'm trying to
Right,
think,
yeah.
like, I don't know. I can't play devil's advocate because I can't I can't imagine. I'm, like, trying to think of a question or maybe it's, like, I think there has to be some sort of questioning and some sort of answer about it where it's just, like, maybe your authentic self and your daughter self are the same person, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. I don't see how, but I also feel like that's also an idea worth exploring.
I
Maybe
think so
it's
too.
not
Yeah.
because I think also, like, when I think about myself and my family and stuff like that, I am
Mm,
not willing to go through the consequences of trying to get closer to my family right now because I don't feel like
yeah,
I'm ready for that. I don't feel like that will actually serve me or make me happy. But
yeah,
maybe someone else is, and they really, and they really think becoming close or staying close to their nuclear family that they were born with is important to them. And that should be fair because that, again,
yeah,
is a decision you get to make for your own life. So I think there's
right.
something about that. Again, Lily and I are not the
Sorry.
people to yeah, so, with how do you make everyone happy, like, even just answering that question, you don't and you can't. I definitely think the answer to that actually is you literally cannot. You cannot make everyone happy. You know why? Because 'Cause they're bigots who will not be happy if you're happy. Because they literally hate you, and it literally has nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
So you can't.
truth.
Like, if if you wanna think about it that way, you just can't, so maybe let that one go. Um,
That one's to ponder more about, like, I don't we can check back in another time to figure out see if either of us have figured that part out, but, uh
I'm gonna go back to the other question, I'm gonna go back to the other question because I feel like we didn't have a good answer. Uh, back to the other question. Okay, so this might be a little bit more our speed.
Okay.
This was the second half of that other question.
Mm.
How do you establish your boundaries?
Oh, okay, you need to say them in a not judgmental way or anything. You just need to make a statement of what it is, and not like be like defensive about it, that kind of thing. Like are we talking about like boundaries between who? Like parents and us
Let's
or
go with
like
parents, let's go with
parents?
parents, let's go with parents
Okay.
and family.
That for that, yeah, just state it plainly and solidly and as many times as you need to for it to stick. Like for instance, I told my parents, "Hey, you cannot ask me about marriage plans. Maybe you can ask me once a year, but just only once a year, okay?" And eventually they got it.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I feel like some people do really well with numbers. If you're like once a year, they're like, "Okay, okay, okay." You know what I mean? Because then it's just like they know they get to. It's not like you're totally shutting them down. And
Right,
again, that won't work for everyone, but sometimes I feel like if you're like you give a number, then they're like, "Okay, okay."
right.
Because then they wait for the
Handful.
number.
Right, right. I mean, but you have to have boundaries. At work, you have to have boundaries. I did learn that the hard way because I was one of those people that like lived to work. So I was all like,
Yeah, Lily.
I know. I was like, well, I was part of startup life, and like we were working ridiculous hours, like because we were a startup. I mean, granted, it was really fun, and if you're working with the right people, it doesn't feel really like work. But you do have to establish boundaries, and then like you just put it there and plainly without any kind of like defensiveness or argumentative things around it, and you just like let it sit there. I don't work past 5 p.m.
Yeah. I
I don't
also
work on the weekends.
yeah. Yes, good for you, Lillian. Yes.
Oh my God. One of my coworkers caught me online when I was working on I was like, oh, let me just get this done. It was like, at in the evening, and she shot me a message the next day. She was like, hey, you just got better from your illness. You need to take it easy. I'm like, God damn it, you caught me.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I subtracted those hours off another day, so it was fine.
There you go. Balance it out. Um, I wanna say one thing I've been thinking about boundaries a lot because boundaries is kind of like an it word right now.
Oh yes.
Um, and it's because they're important, but I think what people are misunderstanding And I don't think anyone like literally thinks this, but I think we all kind of maybe wish this.
Hmm.
We start thinking of boundaries and hoping boundaries will be just this magical thing.
Oh, you
Like,
can't wish for them to happen, you gotta say them, you gotta do them.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
but
something that
even
just
in saying them somehow, right? Like, this will be like a fix-all, whatever, with your relationship with your family or your work or whatever, and it's like, it's not. When
yeah.
you establish boundaries and you start, like, establishing and say them, honestly, I think a lot of the time, especially with, depending on who you're talking to, it could go poorly.
Yeah.
If people are used to having their way,
Yeah.
if you're dealing with a narcissist and you say no to the narcissist,
Oh.
obviously the narcissist is not going to be happy, you
Right,
know?
right.
So with people, and so taking that down a notch from narcissists, if people are used to you saying yes to everything and you finally start saying no to them, this is obviously not going to make them happy. You
Right,
have to
right.
remember that you establishing boundaries is about you creating a healthier life for yourself. And
Mhm.
again, it does not mean like you can't control how other people take it. You
Right.
cannot. You have to stand by them. You have to remind yourself like of why you are putting them up.
Mhm.
Because if you are putting boundaries up because you don't want to be like, if you feel like your family is mistreating you and taking advantage of you because 'cause you're their child,
Mhm.
or, like, the opposite way too. If you feel like your children are taking advantage of you because 'cause you're mom and stuff like that,
Mhm.
like, you should say that. You need to set your boundaries and not be taken advantage of, because
Right.
family should mean you do shit for each other when you can and because you want to, not because
Mhm.
you feel shame or guilt,
Oh god, that
like,
is,
if
like,
you
the
don't.
biggest damn thing, isn't it? Like, I feel like the just, like, the Asian guilt thing is,
Yeah,
like,
dude.
so ingrained into our
Yeah.
brains, it's the hardest thing to unlearn.
It is. It is
The
really hard
hardest
to
thing.
unlearn. And so you have to remember that establishing your boundaries, and you have to remind yourself, "This is gonna be hard, but it's worth it because I am
Mm,
protecting myself, because
exactly,
I need to stand up for myself."
right.
It's
And
not
it's
an
not
easy
a selfish choice.
no, it's not. And will people say you're being selfish? Fuck yeah, but it's because you're not doing what like, they can't control you, that's basically it.
Mhm.
Like, "Oh, they
Yep.
can't control you anymore?" Yeah, they're gonna be mad because they wanna control you. Like, and they might not even see it that way, like, say,
Yeah.
like, let's bring it back to parents again. Your parents, usually that need to control you and stuff like that is, like, from worry for your
Mm,
safety and your health and shit like that, and they
mhm.
don't have the tools, and they haven't talked about mental health and stuff like this, so they don't know how to express it another way or even help guide you to attaining happiness in another way. They don't
Right,
know.
right,
So
right.
you also have to take that into account and not just, um, like, off the bat believe them or off the bat think they're monsters. Shit's nuanced, but you
I
have to remember, like, but definitely you have to be like, their response comes from their point of view. What is your point of view, though? What is your
right.
point of view? Because the life that you have is not the life that they had. Like, it's just literally
Mhm.
we are literally we are literally in different years,
Mm.
especially now because you can be like a pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and that can apply backwards,
Right.
pre-2008, after 2008, like, times are different. So,
Mm.
when times change, so do possibilities
Mhm.
and, like, options. So, like,
Right, right.
it's okay, it's okay. Your
Yeah,
options don't have to be your family's options. They just
right.
don't.
Boundaries are super hard. They're and how yeah, exactly. You cannot control how other people react to them, but this is about protecting yourself and choosing yourself.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, people are gonna say, "Hey, that you're selfish or something." And it's like, yeah, you are. It's just because you are taking back power that they have assumed from you. That's why they're mad.
Mhm.
That's why they're mad.
Mhm. Mhm. Remember that. Yeah, remember that, everyone. Remember it. Think about
Take
it.
back your power,
Take back
please.
your freaking power. Take
People.
back take back your life, dude. Take back your freaking life. For real though. Okay, so I think that's a good thing to end on, really, to wrap, because
Okay.
all, and I'm saying this literally because I'm like, I think we can talk forever about this and just be raging,
Yeah.
but we can save that for after the podcast and keep going with this live recording. So I would like to say, first off, thank you, Lillian. This was super funny and fun. And also, what would you like to end with? Like, if there, what are final, if you could PowerPoint us, because
Oh
I
dear.
feel like you would like that, or like highlights that you really want to emphasize.
Know who you are. Choose you. Don't be afraid to choose you. Um, do make choices that are for you. Those are not selfish choices. Those are people trying to take advantage of you that would disagree uh, with choices that are for you. You're the only person that really knows what can make you happy. Um, like I'll share one little nugget of like one thing that I've realized recently that like brings me great happiness, and it's such a small little thing that I just like did not enjoy or know about until recently, because for some reason my cat is black, and she's always been a child of the night and always like hiding or like under things. She's in darkness, she prefers darkness, but for some reason in the last few weeks she's become a child of the sunbeam. And
She's cold.
I guess she's cold, and so she's like now loving, but she's never loved, she's 12, she's never loved sunbeams in her life, and now she's all like, thanks California. And and so one thing that now brings me great happiness is laying in a sunbeam with my cat. I mean, like, something as small as that can like that brings like just pure moments of joy, like like things that define your happiness don't have to be huge. They don't have to be really big. They can be as small as sharing a sunbeam with your cat. Or it can be as big as I don't know, whatever your dream is, like to be an idol or something. I don't know, but that's not my dream. BT dubs. No. um, Also too old. I've aged out.
Yeah, you can't do it with that attitude, Lillian.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, choose you. Period. Choose you. It takes a lot of bravery to choose you. Give yourself the time and the grace to figure it out, because it's not going to be something that hatches overnight. Loving yourself is a journey, but please do love yourself, people.
She begs. She begs. Yeah.
And listen to BTS because
And
they can help you.
okay. Shameless plug.
Mm.
Where can we find you if you want to share stuff, or you can just plug BTS here more if you would
Oh my
like.
God. Yes. Okay. Well, I'm on Instagram. My handle is zenbitch_actual, like a battleship. And and yes, I will plug BTS because they're a power for good in a crazy ass world, and they have positive messaging, like their whole Love Yourself campaign, and I like they got me through the pandemic, seriously, like they really did get me through the pandemic. So they're kind of like my security blanket still, even though they're all in the military right now. I still find great comfort in them. Although, Chad, on the DL, I'm looking at other boys right now, so I'm just like on the break.
Well, thank you. And
It's
thank
fine.
you,
I'm gonna come back. I'll be back.
and thank you to everyone who was listening on the live show and who will be listening in the future. Again, this is the Golden Goddess Affirmations Live podcast. Thank you for being here. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope we said some things you could relate to,
Mm.
and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, folks.